Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to WCS Winter, the European edition. We're moving into our next match for Group D, and it is going to be yet another mirror matchup. My name is Fear Dragon. I am joined by In Control, our ZvZ specialist here at the desk.
That's right.
How are you feeling about this match?
Ask me, come on. Ask me a more complicated question.
Okay, fine. How do you feel about the Protoss Nexus and how beautiful it can look if you have a war chest skin?
You sell out.
And you know what, Jeff? You actually can get this war chest skin.
I have it.
You do have it. Do you have it turned on?
Yes.
Beautiful. That's all I need to know.
I think I noticed the big crystal on the top, though. Is that?
It's a really big crystal.
Huh.
It actually allows for faster warp-ins.
That's wrong. That's false. You can't say that. You'll mislead people, especially our young, impressionable European audience. 6 p.m. over there on a Saturday or Sunday. They have been. They just came in from the fields. They worked. They tilled the wheat farms. Come on. What do Europeans do?
I was going to say, what is your impression
they played
of
soccer.
the Europeans?
They played a bunch of soccer.
That's true. And you know, if you said the fields, you wouldn't be incorrect if they were playing soccer.
No, because they don't.
They don't play soccer though. They play football, right?
Well, we call it soccer. I need to give them something. If I just call it football, it confuses them. Because today is Super Bowl Sunday, where we play football.
American football.
American
rugby? Why did it just get called American rugby?
Because we have American rugby.
That's true. We are going to be moving into the Zerg versus Zerg. Again, it's going to be the winner's match with Lambo facing off versus Denver. Both of these guys playing pretty well in their series. Lambo a little bit more dominant in his series. Denver having a bit of trouble versus that Golden Armada, but there's no Golden Armada in Zerg versus Zerg you have to worry about. We don't have those skins yet. That would actually be great. Can you imagine Zerg skins instead of like the mechanical Terran ones?
Yeah.
Just get them themed to be like golden Protoss skins.
It's fun watching like the algorithm of being a commentator work with you sometimes. You're like, they both played pretty good. And I'm like, is it going to go down this path? And then you did. You're like, Lambo won easily, but Denver had a tougher time against Hellraiser.
Yeah, but the games he won were pretty dominant.
I'm just wondering what value that brings. Anyways, go ahead. I'm over here just critiquing. That's what I do.
Oh, yeah.
I critique myself all the time.
I would love to hear your thoughts about who you think is going to be a bit more favored going into this series, because Denver's been
player.
Lambo's a better player?
Yep.
All right.
Denver's very good. Lambo's better. But can I ask you a question? If we go back to that shot production, if we could go right to that, yeah. Who's got the better forearms? Because there is a correct answer here.
You?
No, of the players. Who has the better forearms?
It's Denver, isn't it?
Yes,
yeah.
Correct answer. Thank you. Yep. You're right.
Wait, I thought this was like a misleading question. This is pretty clear.
It's very clear. Yeah, those are burly French forearms. I like that.
Are French forearms better
than
other forearms?
Look how veiny and muscular there. What is he doing?
Working out?
No, he's playing soccer. He's European. He plays soccer.
Well, you know, in American football, we don't really use our feet that much.
Oof.
I guess you run around.
Who's playing this match?
Starting up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, we have our blue Zerg player. He is Lambo from Team Clash. And he's facing off against this guy up here in the top right-hand corner of the map, the red Zerg player. He is Denver from Infinity Gaming.
Clement. He's 21 years young? God, they're all so young. It was really nice seeing. Who was the
32-year-old?
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Starbuck was one of the younger guys. Braddock was older. 32.
But who's the Chinese player that was older? Was it
Tudming? Tudming's the only Chinese player we've seen so far, I think.
Or Taiwanese. We had, I think Expect was 30. I think Expect was 30. Or maybe it wasn't Expect. Somebody was dressed really nicely and was 30.
I think Expect may have been one of the older folks, but yeah, he may have been 30, and then Braddock was 32.
It must have been Tudming. Production's letting us know.
Okay.
He had that cool jean jacket, right?
I don't actually remember the photo for Tudming.
Okay.
I don't really have.
I always
anything
reach
to
out to Ravi. I'm like, Ravi, help me, and then Ravi like takes my hand and just like shoves it away. Like, no, get out of here.
I learned from the best, Jeff.
Marine Lord? You couldn't remember Marine Lord.
I got close.
Oh.
I had another Marine person.
No, it's only Hero Marine and Marine Lord. It's the two.
I actually can't even remember. I definitely said someone else that had Marine or Lord in it.
Okay.
I got somewhere with it. But I definitely listed like a Terran player or a Proto. Oh, I said Space Marine. That's who I said.
Right.
I got halfway there. All right. Well, in this Zerg versus Zerg, we do have pretty normal looking openings. Hatch gas pool. So far, we got Zergling speed starting on up for Lambo. Denver has the resources, hasn't started it up just yet. He will see if he just decides to go into a fast lair or something instead, or go for an Evo Chamber wall off. This is definitely not a bad map for going for those kind of early wall offs, 2-base plays with +1 roaches or fast spire.
Kind of an interesting difference in execution, I suppose. Denver had his Overlord actually go into the main base and kind of saw normal stuff like speed and the drone saturation, of course, that kind of a thing. Actually, did he see the speed? It's worth mentioning because it was on the other side of the gas. Yeah, he did. Okay. Yeah. So that's kind of cool because on the other side, Lambo scouts the natural where you don't get to see gas. He doesn't see the main. So he doesn't know. And the only reason I bring that up is because it's actually a bit of a different opening from our French Zerg here, as he's going for the very fast lair, and that is the Roachborn and Evo Chamber at the front, but no speed. No speed critically on those lanes.
Yep, and I think it was even in WCS Winter this season, we've already seen a Zerg player try and do a little bit of a fake out one where they start up +1 weapons, but they still go into the Spire. So we'll see if he commits to this. He hasn't actually gotten his extra gas geyser just yet. We see 1 gas geyser being thrown down, but if you're going to go for things like mutas, you really do want all 4 of them. So probably just going to be +1 weapon roaches.
Yeah, but it's that speed upgrade that's going to be allowed to him pretty quick. And the other nice thing here, too, is when you skip speed on lings, it's only 100. So I'm not talking about millions and millions of resources going your way. A little bit of a lag spike there, but it seems to have stabilized. But speedlings later in ZvZ matchups don't typically matter that much. Obviously they can, especially if you go like +1 melee, but in roach battles, not as big of a deal. So it's a little bit of extra resource in his pocket. He's going to have the faster roaches. And again, I just want to remind you of Lambo, who's a timing attack-oriented player, even in ZvZ. If the opponent has speed first and they're able to kind of clamp down on the third or defend against your attack, it's a big deal. There's no retreat from that on those roaches.
Okay. We'll see if Lambo's going to opt to go for something like that. It looks like we do finally find the culprit. It is, in fact, our Russian commentator, P. Sinson.
Yeah, they actually just did a countdown from, I think it was like 8 or something, get down to 1, and then the lag screen came up. So they're just having a good laugh right now. But it's okay. This is the normal stuff. We have a really nice international broadcast like we were kind of talking about. There's Russian commentators. We had India in there. Jim Rising was... No, Jim Rising's playing later today in the WCS bracket that he qualified for, where he has a chance to move on to the second group stage. In fact, I would say he's favored to take second in that group behind Neeb, one of the absolute best players in the planet.
Well, once you're a commentator, it's just a little bit easier to play StarCraft.
It's amazing that he's doing that.
We are back in the game. The game is resumed as well, so let's go ahead and hop back into it. And we do see Lair Tech starting on up for Lambo. Now, when Lambo moves up that ramp and he sees Evo Chamber, and he also saw the Roachborn, of course, losing the Overlord, a little bit painful there, especially with Overlords only now starting. But he sees pretty much that there's no third base. He should know exactly what Denver is going to be up to here.
Yeah, and actually, as an update, I think Lambo canceled Speedlings. Did he not?
Oh yeah, he did end up canceling.
Nobody wants Fastlings in this game. Nobody. All right.
Yeah, and Lambo able to use maybe some of those extra resources, get up a faster third base, and on the other hand, Denver kind of has to get something done here. He is going to be able to kill off maybe 1 or 2 workers, and drones up a little bit further.
I kind of disagree. This is a little bit of that funny thing that happens in ZvZ where one player has the faster upgrades, the other player has the faster expansion. The other example of this would be pool first versus hatch first. One player has access to the earlier queen, which gives you the earlier inject. The other player has the earlier hatchery. Typically, it ends up evening out in the end. You can kind of see that in the supplies here. A little bit more to your point, though, Lambo is slightly ahead in that supply. but that's mostly an army. And what's kind of funny about that, of course, is there is not going to be, I mean, there could be a Nidus Worm, but otherwise there's no warp-ins, there's no medevacs. So
it takes time to get across the map.
Thank you, Robbie. That's exactly right. God, you're so smart.
I'm trying.
You are.
Gradually learning. Overseer moves in, just sees nothing super crazy coming out from Denver. Like you said, no Nidus Worm or anything, although I know you're talking about that with Lambo, making sure that Denver is not doing anything too funky either. But we do have a couple of these roaches on the south side of the map. Lambo with a single slow Zergling spots these guys out, and that alone is going to be enough for Denver to just pull back.
Good intel, good map vision for both players. You can see constant overseers being made, and then, yes, they probably end up dying, but as Robbie pointed out, getting pretty good information here. You can just see on that minimap, too, the overlords spread across. Until Hydras or Mutas come out, you have just about near perfect information. If you really respect your opponent, like Denver and Lambo probably do to each other, it's hard to imagine making roaches and going across this very long map and catching your opponent so off guard that you have that many more. So I think this is going to be a pretty big build-up, and some kind of maxed fight is what we're going to see.
Well, we are going to see the Nidus Worm coming down. Denver got a lot of overlords out on the map, very aggressively positioned, like you said. So he's going to have a lot of opportunities to plant those Nidus Worms down either on the south or the north side of the map. We'll see where he opts for. Roach is also moving across the map at the same time, so this is likely going to be a multi-prong attack, but he has to be careful. He is heavily outnumbered here in the Roach count because he's got some Roaches loaded up in the Nidus Worm are ready to move in there.
Yeah. So where is this Nidus Worm going to go? Is he going to be... There's no vision so far of the main base. He's got that Overseer making its way over here. And one of the big tactics here, of course, is to offload and then get to the top of that ramp. A bit of a roach run by.
Yep, just 3 roaches, seeing that a handful or a decent number of roaches are still back at home, and the Nidus Worm does get spotted. Roaches jumping in on top of it. It's going to finish up. Do you still commit to this? It looks like the answer is yes. Not going to have a queen here. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yep, they're also fighting the natural third over here, and this fight's going a lot better for Lambo. It's meant to be kind of a position battle, like maybe Lambo overcommits what's happening in the main base that allows Denver to win the fight down there, but that's not the case. So Denver's going to try to hold the top of the ramp. He obviously has fewer roaches there, so it's not really a hold per se so much as a speed bump. But Lambo's going to go after this Nidus Worm, and he actually doesn't get there in time until it offloads. And the fight's pretty close.
The 2-1 upgrades in favor of Denver right now are helping out so much in these Roach versus Roach wars. I think that Lambo has more Roaches. Denver still making some okay trades for a while, but he is finally pushed back into the Nidus Worm after killing 19 workers.
Yeah.
Pretty devastating damage.
That's the big number for me, Robbie. It's 19 workers, which means that Lambo is now down about 12 drones here, and he's actually still only producing mostly units because, again, once you kill that kind of that number of workers, oftentimes you can just kind of lean on the gas and be like, okay, well, if you're going to cycle up some drones, I'm just going to kill you.
Yep, and with both these players sitting on roughly the same number of roaches, this becomes a very tough game for Lambo. He needs to kind of outposition his opponent a bit. Does catch these roaches, trying to go for the run by, and is going to be able to snag a couple of kills here. That is something.
The main.
Another Nidus Worm pops on out. The roaches. Whoa. No.
You know what? They go in just as fast as they go out, don't they? They just.
I don't even know if they lost one over there. Oh, these roaches.
That just looked funny.
Lambo is going to be able to chase these roaches all the way back across the map. Nidus Worms do cost a bit of money, but this is something that Denver can afford, whereas Lambo, not exactly fully saturated in all 3 of those bases with just 39 workers. That main base is totally empty.
As we look at the shot of one drone, you hear just Caster voice over the top, totally empty. It's like, hey!
Look, that one drone.
I'm working here!
That one drone does not matter.
It's trying, man.
At
least you didn't say literally, because that would have actually just, my whole soul would have died right there. But Lambo's going to take this fight. He's got the better concave, and there is no retreat path for the units of Denver here, but it's closer to the resupply lines for Denver. That being said, he's just done. GG. Lambo takes the fight and wins the game.
I'm very confused by those last 30 seconds.
It got a bit weird. I think the best explanation we can give as super non-ZvZ experts is that Denver did get a big advantage. I think that's something we can all agree on. But then there was like 5 or 6 more attempts at run-bys with little units of like 9 or 10 roaches. And he didn't necessarily lose all the roaches, but he was taking the worst fight each time. And the kind of funny thing was, despite killing 19 drones, and Lambo ends that game down, I think it was 10 workers in the end, it wasn't that big of a supply difference at all otherwise. Lambo I think even had a little bit more army. So when it came to actually fighting, once the upgrades evened out and Denver donated a few things, it got to a bad spot for him. Because that fight was really bad. He had like a small pocket units here, small pocket there, full concave for Lambo against 2 flanks, and he won in a big way.
Absolutely. ZvZ is always a really tough matchup, I think. When you get ahead, we see a lot of the times it's not as simple as, well, I'll just keep making nothing but army units and then I'll be fine, right? Because you kind of have to still play that kind of dance back and forth where you're saying, okay, well, I'm going to keep pressuring you, make sure you're not droning, because if you're droning, I also want to stay ahead of you in drones.
Right.
I also don't want to undermake army units, and it's still a bit of a dance back and forth. It's not always a foregone conclusion at that point.
Agreed. There's also a lot of micro in ZvZ, which people don't give credit to, but those roach battles are huge on positioning. Upgrades are definitely felt there as well, so there's a lot of nuance to it.
Well, we get ready to move into game number 2. It's going to be on Cyber Forest. Denver able to get into a good position with a lot of the aggression in that last game, using the Night of Swarms back and forth, but eventually ended up giving it away with maybe over-aggression. We'll see if he can kind of adapt a little bit, be ready for a bit of a different game in game number 2. Of course, again, reminder that this is the winner's match.
So here's the thing. I want to pull back the veil a little bit. I give Ravi a hard time, but he's actually, we have to message them that we're ready to go. We're hosting. He's got a producer in his ear sometimes. So sometimes when Ravi says things like, we'll see if this is a different game from the other one, I'm like, this is a tasteless moment for you right now, but he's got stuff going on.
My favorite part is you'll say that, but I'm not looking at you because I'm like typing in, let's get ready. And it's a 4-second period of time where then finally I look back and you're just already looking at me.
I know. And if I was a friendly co-host and co-commentator, I would help fill the time with you right then and there instead of draw attention to the fact that you just said literally nothing.
That's what I do sometimes, though. I just have to come to terms with it.
We all do it.
All right. Spawning up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, we have the red Zerg player, I believe, going for a 14 pool. It is Denver. Infinity Gaming.
Getting aggressive.
And down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, the blue Zerg player going for a hatch first. He is Lambo, setting up 1-0 from Clash.
Lambo, also a youngster in the scene, rising up in that German StarCraft 2 scene that's got some great players. Showtime looking very powerful. Excited to see him progress to the WCS as well, but it will be that early pool going up against our Mr. Lambo, who just started his pool. But what's kind of interesting about this, with a 14 pool backed by no gas and its own hatch, it's really... And this is where it would be nice to have a more Zerg versus Zerg expert or Zerg player in general. Because these lings come out at a kind of a weird time for me. The map is medium, so they're going to get there pretty quick. But I don't think they cancel the hatch. I think this is more of like a micro check. It's like if you're being super greedy, yeah, this will really hurt you. If you're playing normal, that's fine. And if you're going for a cheese, then I have the slightly more macro cheese to just come out ahead there, I guess.
He does eventually go for the gas geyser, and he sends his Zerglings, his just 6 Zerglings, all the way across the map the long way to avoid any of the overlords. So, like you said, it's a bit of that micro-track, and also if Lambo doesn't see this coming, a lot of Zerg players, they will have that spawning pool finish up, and they say, yeah, I don't need the early Zerglings, I'm just going to get the double queens up, because that's the normal economic opening. So, when those queens pop out, even when they pop out 6 lings, if you get an immediate surround on that queen, you can still pick it off.
Yeah, it's just all very unlikely, though. The queen typically will get into the mineral line and reduce space. Here is that micro check. Lambo's doing just fine. So far, he lost 1 drone. 2 drones, I think. Some missed mining time, so that's okay. And what's funny about these kind of things, too, is you look at it and you're like, wow, that's pretty decent damage, right? But then you look at the stat line. Same. Just across the board for the most part.
Yeah, both the players, of course, going to be getting up their rounds of drones on either end. Denver, remember, he did get up his gas geyser a good bit later as well, so his Zergling speed is going to be a bit further behind.
Yeah.
He kind of has to get up his wall in and try and prevent Zergling run-bys, and maybe gives Lambo a chance to get his 3rd up. Kind of like you were saying, it does all sort of even out with minor bits of damage.
People would be quick to note, I guess, that Denver does have a 1 or 2 drone advantage right now, but he'll have, as Ravi said, the significantly slower speed, which both things I don't think are going to impact the game.
Will he? Speed gets canceled here for Lambo, right as you say that.
Okay.
and just goes for the Roach Warren. So I guess Lambo's saying, okay, I know that your speed is probably going to be delayed going for those earlier pools, so I don't actually have to worry about your speedlings. I'm fine. I can just save some resources, get up a faster Roach Warren, maybe get up a faster third.
Yep, favoring the +1 range attack here earlier. Upgrades were a pretty big deal in that last game, and they always are in ZvZ. But I like what you said, Ravi. I think that could be true. He also doesn't have any vision of the main base, so he's like, maybe with a 14 pool, you just don't have gas sometimes. Yeah. Or at least the much later gas. Some players do the no gas into like 4 gas immediately.
Drone getting chased away by a couple of these lings. Not that they'll ever have speed to catch that drone, but the queens should push that back. Allows them to establish a third base, which is actually really nice here for Denver, because a lot of the time you go for this kind of play. Oh, that one ling!
Oh my god, it held. Wow.
That's amazing. 2 hit points left. I think 1 hit point left over.
Yeah.
With the regen. Okay, well, Lair Tech comes up a lot faster here for Lambo. So I was sitting here talking about grabbing a faster third, but it's Denver that goes for the faster third, and Lambo that's going to be sitting back, turtling up a little bit on these 2 bases and moving into some faster tech. And third base even getting canceled and killed over here.
Nice little grab, considering it was done fairly inexpensively, excuse me. It's not like we're talking about 20 lings that canceled at third, it's literally it was 6. Behind this though, if you look at that progression tab up there, or production tab, excuse me, it's a lot of the same stuff. They're both going +1 range. I don't think we'll see a Muta switch coming out here from Denver, who's going to have the significantly later lair.
Yep.
And then we haven't seen that from Lambo. Lambo's been roaching a little bit more here though. But he is still going for that third hatch at this time, so I don't think it's any kind of big attack.
Yeah, Denver's sneaking in not only some of his own roaches, but he's getting in a few extra drones here and there as well. So that kind of adds on even more to the extra roaches you were talking about that Lambo's been making a little bit faster. And that does maybe draw some concerns. Lambo goes for one of those big push-outs soon.
It's kind of feeling like it, Ravi. I mean, that's 10 more roaches, and he's hiding his count a little bit. He's got some by the third. He doesn't want it canceled, of course, but he's also just not showing the numbers. And he's got some pulled back in that natural. So I think this is going to be that attack, probably off the third hatch, and then everything else after the roaches start walking across the map should be speedlings.
Denver is still droning up here. 4 more drones on the way. Each one of these really hurts.
Yeah.
And this is one of those times where once road speed finishes up, you get across the map pretty damn quickly. And Lambo's finally going to start moving. He's already pushed back that Overlord a little bit, I think, with the Queens moving forward earlier on in the game. So they are going to finally spot this out, though.
We'll have the faster speed, too. Not so much so that I think, you know, it's blindingly faster, but it's significantly faster. And this is not the biggest of maps. So at the very least, this third is in a lot of trouble. And if you've droned up the way that Denver has, it's going to take a huge gut check moment here for him to be like, well, maybe I can't hold this third. Because if he just pulls back to the natural and defends, there could be a chance for defense there. But he's going to try to hold it here.
Even got a couple of Ravagers in here for some corrosive biles. Lambo going to try and push forward. But he's going to be moving into a big concave. We're talking about the importance of that positioning. So that is the one thing Denver has going for him right now. Even if he doesn't have roach speed for another 9 or 10 seconds, Lambo trying to push in with just raw numbers is starting to win on the south side of the engagement. The north side not doing too bad for Denver, though, and he is going to start pushing this back.
Yep. And the earlier reinforcements is nice. You can see it up there in the supply. It's not blindingly huge here, right? Denver doesn't have 35 supply more or something like that, and it's just silly for Lambo. But just having the shorter path to go to get more units there has been better. So what does Lambo do behind this? He's going to start droning up himself, as he is down 12 workers right now.
Yeah, he is playing a lot of catch-up in that worker count. Corrosive Biles actually do some good damage, but no. Lambo just taps out. Denver takes the game and going to tie up this series 1-1. Like you were saying, the droning up was happening behind that for Lambo, but then he has to worry about the counterattack, and also his drones weren't really mining that entire fight. He was just making them and just caught up.
Yeah. Well, he went in for another poke, and he got fully surrounded and just kind of like, you know what?
Yeah.
Again, it's about map here a little bit, too. I think if this map's a lot larger, there's a part of him that says, I can get some defenses back at home. But he was already down 12 workers, and he built 7, so he's going to be down 5 and lose all the units there. It's a very tough spot to come back from. I totally understand why he left that game. But with that being said, Lambo is the favorite for this group, but all of a sudden Denver is just 1 game away from upsetting that result a little bit at least. Denver winning this group would be pretty awesome for him.
Yeah, I still would have predicted Denver to make it out probably in this group, like maybe in second, I would have given Lambo favoritism, but if he can make it out in first place, that'd be awesome. Gives him a better seed for the next group stage, and it'd mean a lot for him, I think. We'll see if he can make it happen, though. Still got to win one more game against a very, very strong Zerg player that is Lambo. Next map is going to be Port Alexander, though, and I like the things that Denver was doing in that first game as well, with a lot of the kind of roach run bys. We didn't even get to that point in the game exactly. It was kind of just big roach balls hitting against each other, but
yeah, just clanking, you might even say. Clacking?
Clack, yeah.
Clacking together like that?
Okay.
Just big roach balls just clacking around.
You make me feel like I'm saying something, I don't even mean incorrect.
Yeah.
But just something I shouldn't say on a broadcast. And I'm never sure.
You get that sense?
I get that sense.
Okay.
But I'm never sure why, because I usually don't know why.
Well, there's nothing wrong with what you said.
Okay.
I think.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
I would still like to see Denver get into the late game, though, versus Lambo, because it seemed like his roach run by attempts and stuff, he had a lot of expertise in that kind of stuff.
Yeah. In late games, ZvZ's more fun these days. There's like you said, the run by. I think we're spoiled with Serral. I think of late games ZvZ. I think of Serral a lot. We had some amazing ZvZs last year. Hopefully more in the future. The other thing to kind of talk about here, by the way, is I don't necessarily disagree with you when you say that Denver is like perhaps a very good pick to take second in the group, but neither of these guys want to go down and play Hellraiser for that spot. He's too good. He's too good for the decider match. Like, it's very reasonable for this group to be determined by a pretty good player, but one that you're a lot better than. Lambo, who I've been saying is one of the absolute best, is still not so much better than Hellraiser that it's a shoo-in. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Makes sense. Well, we're going to be starting up here at the top left-hand corner of the map, top of the blue Zerg player from Infinity Gaming. He is Denver. And down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, we have the red Zerg player from Team Clash. He is Lambo.
Huh. Just $57,000 for Lambo. I actually would have thought it would have been more.
I think that was the thing about Lambo, is that he had a lot of hype around him until about halfway through last year, and then he finally got that big top 4 finish, and that was the big start to him actually getting results, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're wrong. But even just going to BlizzCon, I thought was $10,000, which is, and maybe it was, but he's a young guy, like we said, and he's been good for a while, but last year and a little bit the year before was pretty much the first couple of results we've seen from him. It's just a brutal game right now where you can be very, very good at StarCraft and still not necessarily win that much money or place very high, because there's some absolute roadblocks out there. Think about 2017 being pretty staunchly dominated by Neeb, bullying around all those top players, and then 2018, of course, perhaps the most dominant performance we've ever seen in StarCraft 2 was not done by a Korean, but it was done by Serral, a Finnish Zerg player.
Yeah, absolutely. I do really quickly want to make a note of the openings here. Denver going not for a crazy, this wasn't a 12 or 14 pool or anything. This was around a 16 or 17 pool. But he gets out the early 6 Zerglings versus a hatch first. So spawning pool for Lambo finishes up not too much later on, but he's going to go for the double queens. These 6 Zerglings managed to evade the Overlord by going through the north side. Going to catch Lambo a bit off guard, but again, it's not going to look to try and do devastating damage. It's a bit more of that micro check that you were talking about, and seeing if you can pick off a drone or 2, maybe chip away at a queen.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And Lambo is going to be a bit more prepared this time around. That drone's so low.
1 hit away from death, and going to save it.
Yeah, he is.
And even ends up winning out on the Ling micro, and the Queen's going to be able to finish the job on a lot of these Lings. Really, really well handled there for Lambo. Obviously, not game-ending or anything even close to it, but definitely a little bit of a moral victory there.
And Ravi, once again, speed is canceled, and this time it's going to be the faster lair. Now, that fast of a lair does have me thinking something like Spire, even though there is an Evo chamber, and maybe I'm just completely wrong, but no speed Lings, man. Neither of these guys in a rush to get their Lings out moving faster.
No, both of them in a rush to get up their lairs. As it's funny enough, completely mirrored builds, and I think that is maybe a testament to the fact that we've seen this, not necessarily Zergling speed canceled every single time, but we've seen a lot of these super fast 2-base lairs with an Evolution Chamber, with a Roach Warren, And it was bound to happen that one of these games, both players would be doing the exact same thing.
And here it is, to your point. Workers slightly in favor of Lambo, and that seems to be kind of the ebb and flow of that opening. In the previous game, 2 drones did die and more mining time was lost, so Denver's early 14 pool was able to kind of do what it took to have a slight advantage this time. Lambo defended a lot better, and now he has the slight advantage.
Yeah. And there is actually going to be a Spire, so you were on the money there. Lambo going to be throwing down the Roach Warren and giving the impression, at least, that he's going for some of that stuff. And funny enough, it is the Lings of Lambo that also make their way into the main base and see a distinct lack of Spire, because I think that they should have seen most, if not all, of the natural.
Yeah.
And they saw the main base, and that is a really good confirmation to have.
Yeah, and they saw the Evo Chamber and Roach Warren wiggling and jiggling, as those upgrades are pretty far in advance here.
Yeah.
Now, Lambo you'll see is queuing it up as well, but I think that's, well, A, you're going to need those upgrades anyways. You can kind of afford it right now, but B, you also want to fake them out and make them say, hey, look, I'm still doing the same thing too.
Yep, so far, Denver not really able to get across the map, much less try and get a bit of a run by in. I think there's maybe some gaps over here, but the Queens should be able to prevent any Lings from making their way in, especially if they're just slow Zerglings. So Denver going to be in the dark about the Spire for quite a bit of time. We'll see if that ends up punishing him. Since they're both going for what looks to be mirrored builds, obviously minus the Spire that Denver doesn't know about, Denver may just be sitting back, and usually the one way you can kind of try and punish a super fast Spire is if you're getting aggressive before the mutas pop, before they invest the gas there, because you'll have more roaches, but it doesn't really work if you don't know about it.
Yeah. He actually built 4 roaches as well, which is interesting because it is cutting into his ability to make mutas. And he only makes the 4 mutas right now up to 6. So again, the 4 roaches would have just basically been like a 7th or 8th mutalisk at this point in time. But you also want to have a few roaches, I suppose, to hold on to this. So I get it. It's not the biggest of deals, but these mutas are going to chase back the roaches. Now, again, if Denver's roaches are numbering in like the 20s or something like that, you could trade them out. So go ahead. Yeah, you got some mutas up in the air, and probably eventually they kill all these, but maybe I do enough damage that it's too much of a problem for you. As it is right now, they're just buying time. Back at home, it is going to be those spore crawlers to make sure that these bases don't take too much damage. But this map control Lambo's going to find is really nice. It's something we always talk about in ZvZ, but haven't in a while. I haven't seen mutas in ZvZ, at least in all of our WCS games. Kill the overlords, push back the overlords so your map vision's limited. If you're out on the map with roaches, that's fine, but they will die.
Yep. Already seen one overlord getting softened up. He's going to save it for later as he tries to go after some drones before the spore caller finishes. One of the mutas already going down, though. 6 drones for this low number of mutas, though, is a really nice pickup.
Yep. And of course, the damage is not just that, right? Like, it's, again, the spore crawlers, it's the map control, all that kind of stuff. So very nicely done by Lambo. He's throwing Denver off kilter here in this winner match. Winner is going to move on to the 2nd group stage, securing for themselves some more money and, of course, the chance to make it further in the tournament. Loser's going to have to fight Hellraiser, something I was talking about earlier, but that's tough.
Hard match.
It's a hard match.
Well, a lot of these roaches are starting to go down to the mutas. That free chip damage, picking off 3 or 4 of them alongside Lambo, moving forward with some of these roaches. I don't think Lambo has enough roaches to actually push in over here without some reinforcements. But the mutaflock is still just gradually growing.
Yeah, that's interesting. Can we see, Ravi, is there an upgrade on the mutas? I don't think there
no.
is. So that's a little bit odd. If you're going to add mutas to it, because it's already at like 7 or 8 or whatever that is, he's adding. You know, it's going up to quite the grip there. With attack or carapace, it makes a lot more sense. Without it, little weird here.
Tunneling Claws finished up for these roaches. Denver's trying to go for a bit of these run-bys and revealing the burrow, and Tunneling Claws is finished up with those roaches burrowing over there. We'll see if, Lambo's super prepared for this. He's already got the detection. He's got that Overseer, and will pick off those roaches. Yeah,
and that's twofold bad, right? So, like, he obviously picking that up is cool because you kill a few roaches, but B, he now knows that that was the trick Denver was going for, and because it was so disastrously revealed, he should have spore crawlers or overseers at each base, and it's going to be very hard to see Denver getting by with this.
Oh, man. Denver, he does have some superior upgrades for a little bit longer. Even with +1 Carapace actually finishing up for Lambo, he's still going to have +2 missile attack over him. But these roaches just keep getting picked off before they actually get to the mineral line. He's trying to focus fire down a few drones now, but this is not that much damage.
Well, I mean, they're equal in workers, but Lambo is doubling in army supply. Doubling! And he's still adding more mutas, by the way. Kind of an interesting play on that. But Denver's in a tough spot, and by tough spot I mean I can see him just tapping out here fairly soon. He hasn't been upgrading, so we're not talking about some crazy 3-3 with a hive type of X factor. It's, well, actually I say he hasn't been upgrading, but to be fair, he's at 2-1, so he has been upgrading. He's just not maxed out on it, and the only reason I'm bringing this up and now droning on about it is, like, where does Denver go from here? You can't throw it on your own Spire. He's going to head towards Hydra. That's fine, but it's kind of defensive at best, right? Like, you don't make 9 Hydras then immediately have map control against these kind of roaches. And a lot of times with the Muta tech, it's Lambo that can have the option of adding, like, a lot of Ravagers or Lurkers, perhaps, and then that becomes really strong against the predictable tech path of Denver.
Yeah, we're at that point where there's only 16 roaches out on the map for Denver. And even with some Hydras coming out, it is up against 50 roaches.
Yeah.
And that's not including the 15 mutas in the air. They're going to keep whittling away at the army. Denver, you did a good job. You put up a really good fight, but this is not a hold. I just don't see the math working out for you.
I don't either, my friend. And smartly so, Lambo's going to do a couple things here, too. He's going to the main with the mutas. This is obviously killing some drones to stop the gas. It's hurtful in and of itself. And then what do? You send the Hydras up here? Not really. You kind of have to almost just ignore it because there, like you said, are 45 roaches making their way to your third, which if you lose that base, the game's over.
Yep. Muta's picking away at the Queen, even just picking away a bit at some of the drones there. And now the Roach Ball has finally made its way forward, picking off any of the creep tumors, shutting down that map vision, and jumping on top of this army. Hydra's not enough to really make or break the distance here. The Mutas come forward, gonna be able to shut this down.
Yeah. Hydra's gonna get jumped on top of by those Mutas. A superior upgrade advantage for Denver, but it's just not enough when you go into the fight down 40 or 50 supplies. Doing a couple of nice little roach run-bys, which would be cool. Except that he's losing this fight pretty significantly.
Yeah. It's great to do some economic damage, but if you lose your entire main army and eventually end up losing the hatchery, well, he is making Lambo at least feel like he needs to pull back, which I have to say is a lot more than I thought he would.
Yeah.
But this is because there is half of the rest of the army for Lambo on the other side of the map cleaning up those roaches that are now going to join the forces at the main front line.
That's a weird screen to see. Usually it's like, because it wasn't a huge counterattack by Denver, by the way, unless I'm missing something.
It was 3 or 4.
It's like 3 or 4. He had like 60 supply to go deal with, so it's like.
I think it was all the reinforcements just popping on out, but
a lot of reinforcement. Yes. Anyway, this is justice. This is the end. Lambo will advance 4-1 in map scores, 2-0 in series, and that's about right. Lambo's very, very good, and he's looking to make a statement there. Denver, nice try.
Well, congrats, Lambo. As a lot of people expected, is making it out first, and of course, is pretty much done for the next few weeks. That's a really nice place to be.
He's pretty much done.
Pretty much done for the next few weeks. Obviously,
pretty much done.
He has other tournaments and stuff.
He's got other tournaments. He should probably practice.
But
you know what, Robbie? I like that we began this conversation about, like, what has Lambo got to do for the next couple weeks? What has he got to do?
He can just relax, enjoy a little bit of watching.
Let me help Robbie. This is what Robbie wanted to say, but then I asked the audience, why are we saying this? He wanted to say he's done with WCS Winter for the next couple weeks, right?
Yeah.
But why?
It's because now it's a bit of a relief. You won the big important group that you were practicing for. Now you get to relax for a little bit. A lot of the pro gamers don't get that downtime.
You're painting a
Look,
nice.
I'm gonna defend this one.
That's fine. You're painting a nice picture. I like it. Lambo gets to relax. He knows he's going to the next group. I like it. Okay. You're right. I'm wrong. I accept that. Sure.
As opposed to Denver, who still has a little bit of worries and concerns as he has to move to that decider match that we're going to be seeing in a little bit. And he's going to be facing off, like you said, versus Hellraiser.
Does Hellraiser have some concerns moving forward?
Hellraiser also has some concerns. We're going to find out more about those concerns in a few minutes' time. Don't go anywhere. You're watching WCS Winter.